Bhagavad Gita is a book of mankind's collected experience of and answers to life's most basic questions. Who I am, from where do I come, what is my purpose and destiny, and most practically, how do I find happiness? These podcasts originate in the lectures of Neil Bhatt, a disciple of Swami Chinmayananda. They are presented here in 20 to 30-minute segments, each covering 3 of the Gita's 701 verses. Welcome to Gita Wisdom for Daily Living.
So we have completed chapter 8 and we'll be discussing chapter 9, Rajavidya Rajaguhya Yoga, the yoga of royal knowledge and royal secret. So as we had discussed many times before, that Gita is divided into 3 sections elaborating on the great Mahavakya Tattvamasi. This Mahavakya, Tattvamasi, comes from Chandogya Upanishad in Samaveda. And it comes from the story of Swetaketu. So Swetaketu was Rishi Uddalika's son, and when he became 12 years old, his father told him that in our family there is no one who has not received the spiritual knowledge. So you also should go to a teacher and learn spiritual knowledge. So Swetaketu went to a Gurukul, stayed there for 12 years, learnt all the Vedas and Vedangas, and came back home. As a 24-year-old young man, well educated and very confident. Then he started finding faults in his father's chanting. So his father realized that Swetaketu is very proud of his knowledge and he's becoming arrogant. So he asked him, have you asked your teachers about the knowledge which enables you to hear which cannot be heard, to think which cannot be thought, and to know which is unknown? And Swetaketu said, no, nothing like that I learned from my teachers. Maybe they did not know, and therefore they did not teach me. So, Father, would you teach me that knowledge? My father said, sure. And then Father told him that in the beginning there was only one supreme being. He created this universe out of himself, and therefore he is everywhere in the universe. There is nothing which is without him. That is the truth. And to demonstrate that, he asked Swetaketu to go out and get a fruit from the banyan tree. He said, now bring that fruit, break it and tell me what you are seeing. And Swetaketu said, I see these small little seeds. And he said, now break one of the seed and tell me what you see. And Swetaketu said, I don't see anything. And his father said, that nothing which you cannot see is the essence of the banyan tree. The whole banyan tree grew out of that essence of the banyan tree which you cannot see. It's the same way the supreme self which you cannot see is the self of all beings and everything in this universe. Yourself is the same as supreme self that you are. So that's where the Mahavakya comes, Tattvamasi. Rishi Uddalika gives him various examples. Tattvamasi, you are that. That is the royal secret. That something which you cannot see is the essence of everything. So this chapter is a continuation of explaining that Tat. We discussed Tvam, that which can be experienced and heard and thought about in first 6 chapters. So Bhagavan said, Hatova prapsasi swargam, ditva bhokshase mahim. In this world, if you put efforts, you can never be a loser. You'll always gain something out of it, either here or hereafter, now or in future. But that is something you can experience it. But that supreme state of who I am is a great mystery, because everything I know about myself is right now about something which I have acquired, something which I can see, touch, and feel, and something I can identify with. So the segment started with chapter 7, which was Gnana Vijnana Yoga, yoga of knowledge and wisdom. And the knowledge given by Bhagavan in that chapter was summarized in one verse, verse 7, Mattaha parataram anyat kinchidasti dhananjaya. There is nothing higher than me, the self. There is nothing subtler, there is nothing real other than me, the supreme self. Mai sarvam idam protam sutre manigana iva. Everything in this universe is strung into me like those gems on a thread in a necklace. So that was the knowledge given to Arjuna in chapter 7. That's the profound knowledge that there is nothing which is separate. There is nothing which has independent existence other than the Supreme Self. The Supreme Self is binding all the names and forms in this world into one thread to create this world of plurality for us. Then chapter 8, we learned the Akshara Brahma Yoga, yoga of imperishable Brahman. And the one verse which really summarizes Avyaktaha Aksara Iti. That which is unmanifest is imperishable. Everything that is manifest in this world is perishable. But that on which the existence of all that is manifest in this world is imperishable. Avyaktaha aksarahiti tam ahuhu paramam gatim. That is said to be the ultimate goal of all human beings. So Bhagavan has said everything is strung into me. There is no separate existence for anything other than my own existence. That which is unmanifest to you right now is imperishable, and that is the supreme goal of your life to attain. Yam prapya na nivartante. Having understood that, having gained the knowledge about that imperishable, having experienced that imperishable, na nivartante, he never comes back to this mortal world. Tad dhamma paramamma, that is my supreme abode. That's where the self is found. That thou art. That self is none other than yourself. And therefore, it should not be a secret, but it is. But it's a great secret to us right now because it is concealed. It is hidden from me, and therefore it's a mystery. So this chapter starts with that promise from Bhagavan, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, Idam tu te guhyatamam pravakshami anasuyave. I'll give you this knowledge and reveal this secret. I'll unfold this profound mystery to you, who you are, who I am in my own self. Idam tu te guhyatamam pravakshami anasuyave. And I'm telling you because you have faith in me. You do not question unnecessarily or criticize unnecessarily, just for the sake of criticizing. Gnanam vijnana sahitam. I'll give you this knowledge about how to experience your own self. Vijnana sahitam, with its application to experience it. I'll give you the knowledge, but just the knowledge will not be sufficient unless you experience yourself. Therefore, Vijnana is its application. How to apply the knowledge to experience your own self. Yajnatva mokshashe asubhat. Having known that, you'll be free from all that is inauspicious. Everything that you have considered unconducive to you in your life. something which you have devoted your life to avoid. You have pursued happiness and avoided unhappiness. Anything which has a slight capability of giving unhappiness, you want to stay away from it. Not realizing that everything that gives me happiness has equal capacity to give me unhappiness. That unhappiness part of everything, you'll be free from. In other words, after that, there will be nothing but Shubha for you. There will be nothing inauspicious. If that Supreme Being is all-pervading, and this world is nothing but the projection of the same Supreme Being, there cannot be really anything inauspicious other than my own superimposition of inauspiciousness on that thing or being. So Bhagavan said, once you know this knowledge and apply it to realize it, you will be free from all inauspiciousness, all sorrows and unhappiness. Raja Vidya Raja Guhyam Pavitram Idamuttamam. This knowledge which I am going to declare is profound knowledge. Therefore it's called Raja Vidya, king of all knowledge. Having known that, as Udalika asked Svetakirti, did you ask your teacher, which is that knowledge? Having known that, you will be able to hear that is unheard. You will be able to know which is unknown. You will be able to think which cannot be thought. So that knowledge is the king of all knowledge. That knowledge is the profound knowledge. Knowing that there is nothing left to be known. Raja Guhyam, because it is revealing the profound mystery about my own self. So right now, myself is concealed. As we learn in self-unfoldment in Vedanta, that the self is hidden by these 5 seats, Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, Anandamaya Kosha. So these 5 seats, we are concealing the identity of the self. Therefore, it's the Raja Guhyam. It is the royal secret. It is my own self. I experience it every day, but I do not recognize it. This knowledge will enable you to recognize that self, will reveal yourself to you. Pavitram idamuttamam. It is the greatest purifier. The self right now is hidden from me because of all the impurities on my mind and intellect. Those impurities are creating avidya, ignorance. This ignorance is the cause for all my sorrows and unhappiness. This profound knowledge, Bhagavan says, which I'm going to give you, Arjuna, will reveal that mystery of who you are, and that knowledge will purify, will cleanse your mind and intellect, so that you can see the reality as is. Right now, the reality about who I am is colored by my own conditioning or from my own perception of who I am and who I identify with. And I have to rely on the books and teachers to tell me what the nature of myself is. But this one he said, Pratyaksa avagamam. You will realize yourself. You will have direct knowledge. Pratyaksa. That which is in front of my eyes, I do not need anybody to validate it. Right now, it is sunny day. I don't have to rely on anybody's validation. I can look out of the window and see sunshine. I can vouch for it that it's daylight outside. It's not night. It's day. That is pratyaksha knowledge. I have pratyaksha pramana that it is daytime right now. Bhagavan said, after getting this knowledge, you will not have to rely on any book, any scripture, any advice from any guru to know who you are. That will be your own experience. Pratyaks avagamam. Dharmyam. About your own self. About your own dharma. Dharma of my being is what makes me who I am. Who I am is a living conscious being. What makes me a living conscious being is my consciousness, myself. That which I refer to as I all the time. And Bhagavan said, you will be able to experience yourself pratyaksa avagamam dharmyam. Your own nature, you will realize yourself. There will be no need for any other outside knowledge to realize. I can be confused about who you are, whether everything else around me exists or not, but I can never be confused about my own existence. I know I exist. That I never have any doubt about that. Once Bhagavan says you will know this knowledge, this great mystery about yourself will be revealed, and you will yourself experience pratyaks avagamam dharmyam. You will experience your own dharma, which makes you who you are as a conscious living being, and you will realize that. Susukham. This is not very difficult, Bhagavan said. Susukham kartam. This knowledge is very easy to practice. If you turn your attention from the world outside to your own self, you will be able to practice it very easily. Susukham kartum. So here is encouragement for Bhagavan that don't think this is very difficult. So we starts out by saying, Tvam part I understand very easily of this Mahavakya. Tat part is beyond my comprehension. That is something we take it for granted that I will never be able to understand the Tat part of that Tattvamasi. It may take me several lives, many births, many janmas to understand that Tat. And Bhagavan has said it's actually going to be very easy for you. You understood Tvam very easily because you're focused on Tvam. You're meditating on this Tvam all the time. You're in the state of samadhi about your limited self. You're constantly meditating upon the world of objects. Which is the next BMW I need to buy? Which is the next iPhone I need? So Bhagavan says, whatever you meditate upon, it becomes easy for you to do. Now if you meditate on this knowledge, which I'm going to reveal to you, it will be very easy to practice. Susukham kartam. Avyayam. And also it is guaranteed that once you know this knowledge, it will be permanent knowledge. That awareness that you will experience will be permanent. Imperishable. Avyayam. It will not be modified. It will not be something that you will come to believe in something one day, the next day the belief will change. At one time I thought I'm this, but then I changed my opinion about myself. But once it will not be like that. This will be unchanging awareness about your own self. Pratyaks avagamam dharmyam susakam kartum avyayam. However, he said if you don't have faith, then you will be able to do it. If you doubt your own ability, if you doubt the advice from the teacher, advice from the scriptures, the knowledge which you're trying to understand, if you don't have faith in it, if I go to physics class, I have no faith that what teacher is going to teach me, that physics is correct or not. In fact, it happened to me. I had a physics teacher in inter-science, and I started doubting his ability whether he can teach physics. He get confused halfway in equation. And obviously I couldn't learn anything from him just because I started doubting him. He probably was a good professor. He knew his stuff. But doubt was in my mind that does he know his physics or not? He said, if you don't have that faith, then you will not be able to learn that. Asraddhadhana purusha. Dharmasyasya parantava. Aprapyamam nivartante. Mritya sansara vartmani. Asraddhadhana purusha. People without any faith in this dharma, that there is something beyond this material existence that I experience. This body is me, is very real for me. This mind is me is very real for me. The intellect is me is very real for me. Is there anything beyond this which makes me who I am? If I start doubting that there is nothing other than this body, mind and intellect, and it is just the material entities interacting with each other which creates this consciousness. So here comes that fundamental question whether the consciousness is fundamental or the material world is fundamental. Did consciousness emerge from the material world, or the material world came into existence because of the consciousness? We know that my world exists only when I'm conscious of it. My world of my sight only exists when I'm seeing it. When I close my eyes, the world of sight does not exist. So as long as I am conscious, the world exists. In other words, I am fundamental. I need to be conscious to experience the world outside. If I don't have that faith, asraddhadana purushaha, dharmasyasya parantapa, those who know faith in this dharma of being, that this consciousness in me is fundamental. All my experiences are based on my consciousness. O parantapa, aprapya mam nivartante. They do not attain the supreme self. If I don't have faith in my own self, then myself is something other than this body, mind and intellect, then I'll never be able to make connection between this individual self to the supreme self. From tvam to tat, that journey I will never be able to fulfill, complete. I will never be able to relate tvam, that is me, to tat, that is supreme being. If I don't understand the room space, I'll never be able to understand the relationship of the room space with the space outside. Aprapyamam nivartante, mrityu sansara vartmani. They return back to this world of change. Mrityu sansara, this world where the change is constant. Change is nothing but the death of the previous state of existence. Because everything changes all the time in this world, the death is constant in this world. There is always the death of yesterday for today to come into existence. The death of today will give rise to tomorrow. Death of my youth give rise to an old age. So death is constant. Nothing else is constant in this world. Therefore it is called mrityu sansara, the world of death. If you have no faith in the constancy of the Supreme Self, then you will have no other choice but to return back to this world of change. Bhagavan said, aprapyamam nivartante. They return without attaining me the Supreme Self, without removing this parallax between tat and tvam. They see these two always two separate entities. I am different than the world. I am different than the Supreme Self. Mrityu sansara vartmani. We'll stop right here. If you find this podcast helpful, please support it by donating any amount by going to the episode's website at neilbhatt.podbean.com or at chinmayarichmond.org. Thank you. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhave. Om Shantihi Shantihi Shantihi. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.